That was
All
great.
right, before we start with Tony, you want to answer Corey's question?
Yeah, thanks, Corey. Thanks, Adam, for that. Yes, thanks, Corey. It's a great question. Very excited. I would love to have Blue Panther here in America. I would love to see Bryan Danielson versus Blue Panther here. I'm a big fan of Blue Panther. Everyone knows I'm a huge fan of Bryan Danielson, and I think that would be great. I grew up as a big fan of CMLL. Unfortunately, with my work schedule, I wasn't able to make it to Action Dean last night, but I grew up coming out in college, and as I was finishing up high school, really got into CMLL. I read a lot of the Cubs Fan, the Lucha Blog, and also the Death Valley Driver, and talked a lot about CMLL on there. I've been able to utilize aspects of that presentation, and working with them is a dream come true. And I can't wait to go home and watch Bryan versus Blue Panther. I haven't had a chance to see it yet because we've been very busy tonight, had a lot going on, but very, very happy about that, and we'll gladly do that anytime. Thank you, Corey.
Okay, questions for Tony? We'll start on this side.
Hey, Tony. I just had a question about when it comes to the Stardom relationship. Are you able to go into any insight about the relationship with Rossi beforehand, going into now? Was there any like specific thing that happened, or was it more of like a lack of communication from that side? Just any kind of insight you can give to that.
It's a very fair question. It's more than fair. I understand I probably fed into the speculation. I do think it's a much better relationship with the current management now, and I want to praise the current management. And it's been so great working with them. Taro Okada, it's just awesome. And President Okada and Stardom have been very kind to us, and it's a great relationship. You know, you look back, it was a year ago when I was working to bring Mariah May in, and I think today would be a totally different process if I wanted to reach out to them about working with the talent. Now it's great to have the kind of relationship with Stardom where Mariah is an AEW wrestler, but we can come here to an ROH event or an AEW event, bring the Stardom wrestlers in, and acknowledge the history, because it's an important part of Mariah's journey. Before she came here and showed up on AEW television as the biggest Toni Storm fan, you saw that she was a great wrestler in Stardom. We acknowledge the history of Club Venus. Very interesting to see her and Mina together. We've of course seen Mina in ROH before. She was in Boston, had a fantastic match with Anna Jay. We'd love to see the Stardom wrestlers back here. It's a great relationship now. So glass half full, I think things are really good with Stardom now, and I wish we could have started doing that sooner. Certainly, I've been a very willing participant this whole time, and we've done some things. There's been wrestler from AEW, Megan Bain, who had a great run in Stardom. I thought it was a great excursion, but there's probably not been as much communication as I would have liked, and I'd say there's been more communication just in a couple weeks than there had been in several years. And it speaks to the great management at Stardom now, and Bushiroad, and our great friends at New Japan, and Rocky Romero, and the great Stardom office they have now. Thanks. Thank you.
Hey Tony, Jose Gonzalez, PW Mania here. Noticing a lot of synergy between AEW and ROH with the championships on both rosters, most recently the Women's World Television Championship for Ring of Honor and the TBS Championship. Would there ever be plans for a show where we would see those AEW Ring of Honor champions go face to face to see which roster might reign supreme?
It would be interesting. I mean, we've had a lot of interpromotional matches, more AEW ROH content. It would be great. There have been times where top AEW and Ring of Honor champs have gone at it. Of course, we did have that Continental Crown, that alignment of championships. I think it's worked out really well, and I am very, very happy that we were able to have Eddie Kingston and Mark Briscoe tonight. I think all three titles Eddie Kingston held. He was a great champion, and now he's still a great champion for New Japan, but he did great things for Ring of Honor since he won the title at Grand Slam, and that's a great example of seeing some top AEW and Ring of Honor wrestlers in the same place. So you never know, but definitely tonight was a great night for ROH, one of the marquee events. It was 2 years for me officially since I took the keys, and I'm very proud of what we've been able to do. And I thought the highlights and the people that were up here on the stage, great examples of the very best of what we've been able to do since I acquired ROH and working with the AEW and ROH together. And a great example, 2 years ago today, we saw Samoa Joe arrive into this galaxy, and he's gone on to become the AEW World Champion. And like Kyle said, Kyle holds the Ring of Honor World TV Champion, previous title holder and the longest reigning and greatest champion ever with that title, arguably, I think, is Samoa Joe. And now Samoa Joe, like Kyle said, he's the AEW World Champion. He's the #1 wrestler in the world going into Dynasty, and he's the top man in the business. And I think it speaks to what we've been able to do, and certainly that started 2 years ago right here at Supercard of Honor. Thank you.
Over here, Tony.
Hey Tony, it's Jeff Alberta from HSP Podcast and iHeartRadio. So, believe it or not, it's already April and we're well past the quarter of the year. What stood out for you for AEW and Ring of Honor in the first 4 months? And what do you really stood out to you in those 4 months? I know it's a lot probably, but just a few maybe 1 or 2 things that stood out the most as we're past the quarter of the year.
I think I would point to the pay-per-view events each company has had to start the year. Supercard of Honor, great event tonight with some great highlights, including the people who are up here on the stage and many other great moments. It was a great Women's World Championship match with Athena versus Hikaru Shida. Great to crown an inaugural Ring of Honor Women's World Television Champion in Billy Starks. Great match with Queen Aminata, and also after a long story that's been developing on television, certainly it took a major turn in the development of young Billy Starks and her relationship, the mentorship from Athena, and that was, I think, the furthest we've ever seen Athena have to dig into her own personal bag of tricks as well tonight. And also, we've never seen Athena probably this shaken up. We've never seen her this stressed out, this nervous about a match before. And I think even Billy and Lexi were very surprised to see that. They've come together as a great package, and it was a great turn in the story, and now they're both great world champions. So that was great. I think having Mark Briscoe win the Ring of Honor world title, come out to Leonard Skinner, pay tribute with his family and friends in the ring, that's one of the most special moments to me. That would be up there. And then AEW Revolution, it's one of my favorite nights of my life. Certainly I put it as my favorite night in the business. You know, we're coming up on the 5-year anniversary of AEW. It was at Double or Nothing 2019 at the MGM Grand Garden Arena. Next month we're going back to the MGM Grand Garden Arena 5 years after it began. It'll be very special. And it's great to look back. Of the 5 years, we had 3 years with Sting wrestling. Sting went undefeated from Revolution 21 to Revolution 24. What a great way to end what will be remembered. I truly believe is one of the great runs and one of the great 3-year runs. What a great final act. I am so proud of what we did at Revolution. So many great matches, so many great things on the show. You had great matches, start to finish. So many great things like Ospreay versus Takeshita and the BCC versus FTR, and great matches top to bottom. And for me, the most memorable thing by far, and the thing I'll take away the rest of my life, was what we were able to do for Sting's retirement match with Sting and Darby versus the Young Bucks. It was a highlight of my life, and I grew up watching Sting, and it was really special to be able to give Sting the platform to have, I think, the greatest retirement match ever and the greatest final act to a career. So for AEW and Ring of Honor, I think those are some of the highlights, including what we did at Revolution for Sting and what we did here at Supercard of Honor, including great moments, bringing Stardom in to work with us, highlight and really take that relationship to the next level, and also have great champions like Athena, Billy Starks, Kyle Fletcher, Mark Briscoe, and many other great wrestlers we saw tonight. It was a great night, so I think really Supercard of Honor tonight and Revolution have been real beacons so far in the first portion of 2024, and there's a lot of great things to look forward to still to come in 2024. I promise it's going to be a really great year for AEW and ROH, and I really appreciate you asking. Thank you. Thanks.
Right here, Tony.
Hey Tony, Dave Crowley, comicbooks.com. We're here at WrestleMania week, and Supercard of Honor has been such a staple of this entire week for decades, and it arguably kick-started the idea of having promotions flock to the WrestleMania host city to host their events. You got All In London coming up in August. We saw last year Rev Pro kind of built one of their biggest events around the fact that All In London was going down. Obviously you can't control what promotions book shows around All In London, but have you thought about, encouraging those local promotions to have shows around that time? And also the one that you can't control, Ring of Honor. Are there thoughts about doing a Ring of Honor show when you take over Wembley this August?
Well, I am not planning to do Ring of Honor as of now this August, but I do think it's great to support other promotions. I've loved working in particular with Rev Pro in England. I have a lot of respect for Andy. It was great to be there in person for Will Ospreay's final match in Rev Pro at High Stakes 2024. I had been there 5 years earlier, and it was the first time I met Will Ospreay. It was 5 years earlier at High Stakes, and he wrestled Pac, and I was there to see Pac and a handful of other great AEW wrestlers that wrestled on High Stakes 5 years ago, and it was great to see Andy 5 years later and how far he's taken Rev Pro, and great to be there for a special moment with Will Ospreay, get to meet Will Ospreay's family, and I have a ton of respect for what Andy's built there, so that's tremendous. As for doing this show here on this weekend, certainly Righteous Reg back there had good influence. I was in this scrum 2 years ago, my first ever ROH scrum after I took over at Supercard, and I pointed out I had inherited this show. This wasn't my idea to do this, and I said, maybe in the future you could see Supercard different places. And Righteous Reg pointed out, it's different from AEW. It's not AEW, and he's sitting back there and smiling. And it was a great point in the scrum. So we're on the 2-year anniversary of that, and it made me look at it differently, honestly. And then I said, you know what, maybe that is a good point. And then we did it, of course, after doing ROH in Dallas. I did it in Los Angeles, did it in Philadelphia. I'm going to get the hell out of here when this is over, but I really appreciate you all being here and doing this with us, and credit to Righteous Reg for making me look at it in a different perspective 2 years ago today in the same scrum. Thanks, great question.
Right here, Tom.
Hey Tony, it's John Pollock from Post Wrestling. Earlier this week you talked about some of the cuts, and today the Tate twins put out their rebuttal about some communication error when it came to the show that they missed. I don't know if you had a chance to see, but they are citing that there was a miscommunication where they were awaiting confirmation on their travel for Ottawa, and that was the reason they did not make it to that show in Ottawa.
I have not seen their exact statement. After the show, I heard a little bit of this as I was coming back. I stand by what I said, and also I've only owned ROH for 2 years. There's a long history of ROH, and it was my call to bring them back. I liked their presentation with Dalton, and I like them both personally. I've had a lot of good experiences with them, and I would be open to working with them again in the future, but there have been times where they came and have done great things for us. We did the House Rules tour, and they were drive-in tour in the South, and I loved having them, and they've been to a lot of the Saturdays, but there have been some times for my era of ROH, and I've been told from the company I inherited other times in the past, and I'm just going off my experiences. As for that, I did talk about that and confirm. I think there's two sides to that story, but I appreciate you asking about it. I know yesterday they said stay tuned, so I stayed tuned, and then I heard, and I'm not moved. But thank you.
Hi Tony, Kimmy Sokol from the Pop Break. Great show tonight, but the one thing that I've noticed about when you book Ring of Honor shows is you usually announce the card like the week of. Is there kind of a reason that you do that?
Well, I mean, to be honest, there's pieces I put in the week, I think, but I don't know if that's exactly right. I think a lot of things have come in advance, and certainly we knew Athena and, of course, Sheeta. For weeks we've been building the story, I think, with Athena, that she's really shaken up by Sheeta and concerned, and that's been an interesting build. And then the Ring of Honor Women's World Title Tournament, that's played out. We've known now for a few weeks this is going to be the final. We had taped the semifinal matches a few weeks back, so that there's been a good anticipation of that. This case, there's been a few times involving Mark Briscoe where I've had to change the match, and it's funny. I don't know why. It's always with Mark, but I was thinking about doing something different at Final Battle 22, and I didn't know it was going to be the last time I was going to see Jamie, and I had something different called, but I think I would rather do it right than have it locked in early, and if I think I have something better, I would change it. So in the weeks going into Final Battle 22, I decided to go with FTR and the Briscoes dog collar match, the double dog collar match that we saw in Dallas. It was the Briscoes' final match in ROH, their penultimate wrestling match as a tag team, and it was one of the greatest things ever in wrestling, and it was also a great thing. I'm really proud that I changed it, because it would have been great. The other thing I was going to do, that would have been awesome too, but I think it was the right thing to change and turned into the greatest trilogy. I would have done something different, and I think this was the right call to do the double dog collar match at Final Battle 22. And then Last year, we weren't able to do Claudio and Mark when Mark got hurt, and so ended up Pac came in, and it was a great substitution, and it made sense in the flow of what we've been doing. There was a blood and guts match, and Pac was a logical person to come in. So there's been changes, but we do add some stuff on the 0 hour and some things in the opening of the card. But I think a lot of the core stuff was in well in advance. And honestly, I thought the TV did a great job building up some of the matches. Like, I was really looking forward to Athena and Cheetah. I think we've been able to do a really good job building that up, and the tournament final with Queen Aminata and Billy, which I think has also had a lot of really good build behind it. And like I said in the all media call, we changed Mark and Eddie. I was going to do something different with both of them, and Eddie came in, and I had thought about the 11-year anniversary. It was a great point. It made me rethink things. So that was another time with Mark where it was a good audible, a good change, and it worked out for the best. So I was glad Eddie came into a production meeting with 17 people, interrupted it, and came in like a bat out of hell, like only Eddie Kingston can, and then pointed out, "Do you know that Supercard is 11 years to the day?" And I said, "No, I did not know that." And let me pause this production meeting and have everybody stand here while we talk. and we did, and we had a side conversation, and everybody just sat there and listened to me and Eddie talk. And it was a good point he made, and I appreciated it. And there's sometimes the stars align. I hadn't thought about it, the 11-year anniversary. It was worth changing what we were going to do, so that came in as we went, but I would rather change it and have a moment like we did tonight, because I think, again, like I said about the double dog collar match at Final Battle 22, now tonight at Supercard 24. The other thing I was going to do, the other two things I was going to do, they would have been great too, but no, it was a good change. I'm happy with it. Thank you.
Over here, Tom.
Yes, two-part question. Have you considered taking the ROH or AEW to Japan? And also, what it would take to have the Forbidden Door in Japan?
It's a great question. I think we've built a great thing here in North America with Forbidden Door. Of course, the first Forbidden Door in Chicago, last year in Toronto. We're going to be here on this continent again this year for Forbidden Door, but I think there's great partnerships and opportunities to work together with AEW and New Japan, sending top stars over for these great events. And we have something really special. It's become a great partnership. This year at Wrestle Kingdom, you saw a great AEW representation with top stars like Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and many others. And we've seen that consistently. And I think we'll continue to see that, and I'd love to send wrestlers over. I think Forbidden Door specifically is a great brand here, and we can build something special there. I love that it's their territory, and so as for running AEW shows there, I don't want to infringe on anybody's territory or invade. I'm not trying to take over Japan. I think that's part of why it's a good partnership. But it would be fun to do something over there sometime, and it's something we've talked about. I do like keeping the Forbidden Door brand as a special thing we do annually here as a live pay-per-view, and I think that the window we have is really nice, and it's been a great event for us. It was the biggest debut at the time when we had the first Forbidden Door. It was our biggest debut of any of our pay-per-views, and this past year it grew even more, and it was also our biggest live gate in North America last year. It was, I think, our second biggest gate behind only Wembley Stadium all year, and the partnership only continues to get stronger and stronger, and because of the relationship that AEW and ROH have with New Japan Pro Wrestling, we've been able to grow and build new bridges with CMLL and Stardom. So it's a very exciting time in the world of wrestling, and I'm really excited for Forbidden Door 2024 and more great things with AEW and Bushiroad, and AEW and Ring of Honor working with New Japan Pro Wrestling and Stardom and CMLL. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to do a few more.
Hey, this is Corey from WHIY. Of course, we know the history of Ring of Honor. It started here in 2002 here in Philadelphia. This show is essentially a homecoming show for the organization. I was wondering, what was it like seeing the turnout for tonight's show in the midst of every other show going on? I mean, Billy went 2 for 2 tonight, for example.
Well, it was great. I mean, tonight was one of the biggest crowds in the history of ROH. Tonight was one of ROH's biggest crowds ever, not only one of the biggest supercards ever, but one of the biggest crowds and one of the biggest gates in the 22-year history of ROH, which is pretty awesome. In fact, the majority of the top 10 gates in ROH history and the biggest crowds have come since I took over 2 years ago. So in these last 2 out of the 22-year history, we've really done a lot, and it was very cool to be able to come back here to Philadelphia very fitting to celebrate that here at Supercard with a lot of great moments and great memories. Great to be here with the great champions and to be here with all of you, and it made sense for a lot of reasons. And also, I think it was a memorable night, and the Philadelphia wrestling fans are some of the most loyal, some of the most hardcore fans. When ROH started, they serviced a very hungry wrestling fan base, and it's very cool to be here in Philadelphia back with ROH and having some of these great moments tonight. And what a great way to end the show with Mark Briscoe crowned the Ring of Honor World Champion for the first time ever, 11 years to the day after his brother won it for the first time.
Brandon.
It's like Brandon Thurston, WrestleNomics. With the releases that just happened, you said it was for budget reasons, right? So, and that's the first time there's been releases for budget reasons, and in the past there's been contracts that have expired, but you've talked about loyalty and wanting to keep people on until their contracts expire, and there's been some exceptional cases otherwise. But what is that, does that represent a policy change for you? And if so, can you tell us what led to that?
Well, it's a great question. I think that this year I have been very active not only in the free agent market but in the production budget. You know, there are things tonight like, for example, on one song alone, I spent like, you know, a year's pay for most pro wrestlers in this business. And the budget with not only free agency but production is very high, and also we're going into a contract year, and I plan to continue being very active not only in free agency but in the production of the show and producing great content. And going into this year, I have to look at where we're at, and I've really spent more than I had planned going into this year. So I really love our roster and where we're at. I am very supportive of everybody we have here and everybody that's ever worked here. I think I really appreciate everything they did when they were here. And this particular group, it was not an easy set of choices to make. And in particular with this group of wrestlers we just released, I would be happy to take any of them back under the right circumstance. I have no bridge burned with any of them. And like I said, even with the boys, I disagree with the point on travel, and that in the history of ROH and working with us that there hadn't been a couple times where they didn't make it and maybe change stuff. But on the other hand, I really like both of them. And you know, whether we agree or not about that point of contention, I think it's regardless. I think that they were great. They were a great part of Dalton's act. I like both the dates. I like everybody we released in this batch recently, and I have wishing nothing but the best for any of them. And you know, I think for us this year, it's a really important year, and I'm really looking forward going into media rights here to, like I said, being very aggressive and putting our best foot forward, doing the best wrestling we can. And I'm thinking and have good thoughts and wishing the best and very open-minded about everybody we just released, but also I expect that there will be people that will want to come to AEW. I think really AEW and ROH were doing great wrestling, but also this is a great place to work. And I believe that everybody that has worked here that was in that group that are not with us, I have nothing but the best wishes for any of them. And they were all different circumstances, all different people. People are all different, and these are human beings, and I have a lot of respect for all of them. And like I said, they're all different circumstances, but for the company at this time, I thought it made sense. Thanks, Brent.
All right, we'll do two more and we'll call it a night.
Sure.
Hi, Xenia from New York City. Congratulations on the great show. At the start of the new era of Ring of Honor, we had the Universal tapings, and now, as far as I understand, RH mostly travels with Collision. Are there any plans of doing separate tapings with RH, or designating some type of a home arena, or are we with Collision?
Well, it's also, that's a budgetary thing, you know, it's a difference of hundreds of thousands and annually millions of dollars in taping costs. So it's several $1 million. So, you know, when you're looking at the budget, that's a good place to look. And I would rather protect as many people as possible when I'm looking at the budget. That's millions of dollars that we were able to put into the roster we have now and the people here and the production. And I love those tapings. I love doing that at Universal. But it is very cost effective to tape together. And there are a lot of positives carrying the crew together because there are people able to come and work on TNT and get the experience. Some people have floated back and forth at times, but definitely, I mean, it's a, talking about WrestleNomics and things like that, it is a difference of, over the course of the year, it's millions of dollars. So that's part of the thinking. And we built a great model with the streaming on WatchROH.com. The current subscribers this year has been the highest in the history of Ring of Honor. And so we've been able to do great things with the promotion and also trying to do it cost effectively. And I think we've been able to have these shows, these big specials with Supercard of Honor, Death Before Dishonor, and Final Battle as standalone shows with great crowds. And then I love the Universal tapings. At some point I would love to get back to that if, if the finances make sense, but I definitely think it's a really, really logical thing the way we've been doing it too, and it's made a lot of sense for us. Thank you.
Tony, final question back here. J.O. Segarra again, Wrestle Bars, Def Jam Recordings. Just curious, just a two-part question. One, you just announced a couple of days ago the AEW game with Jamie Hayter. Just kind of curious on any updates. One, and then two, with the season packs and kind of what you're doing, just curious if we're going to see Ring of Honor packs or Stardom packs or New Japan packs that kind of continue to evolve the game and just kind of maybe help elevate the status of where you're trying to grow with the whole entire campaign that you're doing.
Thank you. It's a great question. Well, we've had some great additions to the game, and they're going to continue adding. You asked about Jamie Hayter. Jamie Hayter's been out with an injury. We've really missed her. Of course, AEW made our presence felt last year in London with the most tickets sold for any pro wrestling event in the history of the sport. We sold 81,035 tickets, and I would have loved if Jamie Hayter could have been there and been part of the show. And we had some great stars, a great star like Bryan Danielson, and also some great stars from the UK like Pac, and of course Jamie Hayter, the former AEW Women's World Champion. I would love to get her back, and hopefully she will be healthy and back in the ring soon. We are wishing Jamie Hayter the best. I'm a big fan, and I would love to have her back in the ring. And then for AEW Fight Forever, still looking to add great things into the game through the DLC content. Added some great names recently, like you said, and we'll definitely continue adding different names. It's obviously time-consuming and costly, the development for these things, but it's been a great learning experience for AEW, and also I think we've been able to do some really exciting things, build baseline code and build experiences that'll be really important for our company. And AEW Fight Forever, definitely still committed to putting out great content for that going forward. And it's only the beginning of our first console game, and we're going to be around for a long time, and it's been a great experience. Thank you for asking. I know, by the way, that a lot of you travel in for this. Is there anybody that has not gotten to ask a question or came in or traveled? Because I really appreciate you all coming. So if there's anybody that didn't get asked anything or asked, thank you. Okay, great. Well, it's been really pleasant. Really appreciate all of you coming and covering AEW and Ring of Honor. Hopefully we'll see some of you in person or catch up with you on the all media call coming up in just a few weeks for AEW Dynasty. That's going to be a great show. I thought tonight was really exciting, and I really appreciate all of you. Thank you very much for being here. Wishing you the best and safe travels for those of you who came in for the show. God bless you and take care. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for coming.